Yeah, so next we'll be hearing from Father Heikki Huttunen, the General Secretary of the Conference of European Churches.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy to be able to speak to this audience, and it's a rare occasion to hear such a rich variety of views on such a topical issue. Our organization, somebody might ask, why are the churches involved in this discussion? Well, we were actually contacted by the Conference of European Rabbis with the question about this issue as it was discussed in Iceland, how to handle with it, and would we have an international aspect to bring into this. And so, in fact, the Conference of European Churches and our colleagues in the Catholic Church, which is the Council of Bishops' Conferences in Europe, we issued a statement which you may have seen on this question. And we were able to then also include a statement by our Jewish partners and our Muslim partners in that statement. And then we were able to be connected with the InterReligious Forum here in Iceland at the university and the parliamentarians, and we're very happy that you wanted to host such an interesting forum on this issue today. The point of view of an ecumenical organization like mine to this discussion is the point of view of freedom of religion or belief in the context of human rights. And when we as churches speak of the freedom of religion or belief, we speak of it for all. We're not only interested in the rights of Christians, we're interested in a society which is receptive and respective of human rights in its own context and more importantly in the global context. As you see, an issue which is discussed in Iceland suddenly interests so many people from different parts of Europe and even other parts of the world. And I should add here, as a representative of churches, that there are church traditions where circumcision is practiced. Not on the same level of religious necessity, but as a very respected tradition, and that is the Ethiopian and Eritrean traditions. And I think those two are already represented also in Iceland. So it is a very interesting, multifaceted issue. And as I said, it's very useful and beneficial that we can discuss in a context of multi-stakeholders where we hear the different views on this matter. And when we think from the ecumenical point of view, we are thinking of the relations between majorities and minorities, historical majorities, new minorities, historical minorities, what is the religious fabric of our countries, what is the religious fabric of Europe, and indeed of the whole world. And what is the place of religion in a modern society, the so-called religion in the public sphere? What is the role of my religious or cultural or ethnic identity within the fabric of a multicultural society? Am I welcome with my identity? Is my religious or ethnic identity welcome in the whole of our societies? And of course, when we think of these issues, we cannot avoid the reality of anti-Semitism and Islamophobia in Europe, which are real phenomena and very painful realities. For example, in the city of Brussels, where we are based, it is a daily question. What is the security of the Jewish institutions in that city, for example? Very much, I walk past a synagogue which is very heavily guarded every day. And so the question needs to be part of your discussion. How would an Icelandic ban on circumcision, what kind of a role would it play in the European context? How would it possibly be used in ways that you don't expect or wish for it to be used? How would a populist or an extremist interpretation of the decision be? We're also faced with I hope not polarization of traditional approaches or religious approaches against modernist approaches, a secular approach and a church approach, or a religious institutional approach. I hope that we can keep this discussion going and that we can respectfully hear each other, not only listen but also hear each other, and try to at least respect each other's views, and hopefully also understand and avoid at all cost the differentiation of our discussions and the lack of communication between our communities. I think with the approach, if we take a global view on these questions, we need to be able to find an approach which takes into account both the millennial practices and their values, the value of religious and other identities, and how do they play together in a postmodern situation. In a postmodern society, we have several identities. We don't only have one identity. We don't only have one set of values. We have several sets of values, and we need those sets of values to communicate with each other, and we need to find a way for these to live together. So these are the views from an ecumenical and international church perspective which we would like to bring into this discussion so that we can make our decision on this issue and several other medical, ethical, traditional identity issues in the future, in a way where we will be able to keep our different sets of values in conversation with each other and in an interplay with each other. And I would like to invite my colleague Elisabetta from our organization to look at this issue a little bit more from a human rights perspective, if the moderator allows.